Stewart. Original greenhouses are so beautiful. And the plantings there are beautiful.
Travel tips are on Martha. Siruis XM 110. Martha Stewart Living Radio presents Living at Home, a special series focusing on all the comforts of home from the Martha perspective.
Danny Lipford is a president of Danny Lipford Media.
A lot of people think of organizing closets as a retail store. They want everything visible. That's not necessarily the best. It's a lot better if you really look at the things you use all the time and then make that very accessible, and those you use less, put them back out of the way some.
Featuring leading experts in travel, entertainment, food, and design.
Jackie Warner is with us.
Whenever you travel, pack a jump rope and a resistance band and do 100 rotations of the jump rope along with some bicep curls, some presses, and some squats to create a healthy lifestyle in that environment that you travel to.
Welcome to Living at Home. Here's your host, Betsy Koreknick.
So glad you're here with us. It's just after the top of the hour on Living at Home. This is our new special 2-hour series. We planned it to get your new year off to the right start, so we're all about skills building and enjoying everything of the home with daily advice, recipes. We've got interviews galore. We tackle some of the news that's important for you to use. We will have a review today of the First Lady's wardrobe from Saturday through last night. And if you had been watching, you'll notice that she selected from a wide variety of American designers, as she has previously. And we're going to get cooking later on this hour. We're going to have a risotto recipe that I guarantee you can do. But before we get to that, we're going to tackle some basic skills that'll be essential, in particular, if the Great Lakes snow has you trapped in your house with a few key ingredients. And we're talking about stocks, and we're talking about soups, and we're doing that with Matt O'Leary, CEO and co-founder of the New York Stock Company, and his partner, Will Frischeisen, who is the COO.
That's right.
I don't know how y'all decided who was going to be CEO and COO.
Picked it out of a hat.
When I say New York Stock Company, I'm not talking about investments, although we do tend to call stock money in the bank. Good morning.
Right.
Hi,
Good morning.
how you doing?
So glad you guys are here. So maybe you can give us each a little bit of a background, because what we love to do in addition to learning about cooking is also learning about building a business, which is exactly what you're going to do. And they're pointing to each other. Matt, Will, who's going to go first?
We both have a lot of stuff that we brought to the table with this company. And, I myself had worked in restaurants and around New York City, David Boulet's, including pastry shops, Magnolia Bakery, Witchcraft, and then a few other on the West Coast. So a lot of the things I learned through just managing those places as well as cooking. And it just kind of culminated into what we've developed here. So we've taken the best parts of everything that we've learned throughout the years, including, culinary school that we've both done, and just kind of brought into a simple product that we just made very healthy and very simple and just straightforward for people to wrap their heads around and kind of educate themselves on how to cook better and be more creative in the kitchen.
Now, Will, when you were learning about cooking, professional cooking,
Sure.
did you find that a number of people were less interested in the cooking and more interested in what's become a phenomenon of people cooking for media purposes?
Yeah, actually, that is super common now, I think. And people are, well, on the other hand, it's actually been really good for us because it's broadened the audience of people who are interested in anything culinary, which, that's our main thing. We always like to be talking to people who are interested in what we're interested in. And especially with the stock, people didn't really have, it's not something super common that people do at home because it takes too much time to do. It's too time consuming. And half the time, even if you're working on a recipe, the first thing that it says is you need 4 cups of chicken stock. All of a sudden, the recipe, you were going to make one thing and now you have to make chicken stock before you can even make the recipe. So that was the main driving point that actually got us to start doing what we're doing, because we were both making different stocks at home all the time.
Well, you were a savory person or a sweet person or both? Did you cross the lines? Usually in professional cooking, you have to make a decision at some point.
Yeah.
It's like picking your major in college.
Well, right before we started doing this, we were working in chocolate. So we've crossed the line several times. We've gone back and forth.
You crossed out the line.
We crossed out the line. We said there's no more line. It's just food. It's all food. And, everything that has come as a result of our work really has just been just being determined that we're going to do it and we're going to go out, and whether it's something savory or something sweet, we're going to do it and figure it out. And, while we were working at the chocolate place, and Christopher Norman Chocolates in downtown Manhattan. We actually came up with this whole idea, and we were doing both things at the same time. And then, finally, we just started focusing more on this, on the New York Stock Company.
Now, is that what you learned along the way as well, that you don't give up the last job until you have proven that you can make money with the next job?
To a degree, I mean, it really depends.
I'm presuming you're making some money.
Well, a year and a half into it, I really hope so too. No, we're doing good. With that, I mean, people can go the safe route with that, or you can jump head in. I mean, that it takes quite a bit, to do that. And like if people have savings, or if they just say, oh, I think that we'll go out tomorrow and be able to make rent. That normally doesn't happen. So it's always a uphill battle, the first couple of years to make money. But that was something that I thought, whenever we started at Christopher Norman, it was a lot of like research and development that went on for like 6 months, planning, getting a lot of the purveyors and farms and people that we work with on a day-to-day basis, just kind of up and coming at that point. And then, I mean, I think we right after the summer, a year and a half ago, we just launched it in a frozen state and put it in farmers markets and just said, let's just sell it. Let's try it. We can go back and forth for a year trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? Maybe we should go 5 steps ahead. But, instead of doing that, just take it step by step. Very simple little plan, to just get people involved, and a lot of times it ends up working out anyway. We're going to figure it out as you go.
Now, I imagine for a company that is going to be making food, the consistency of the equipment is one of the biggest issues, as well as the ingredients, which you were just talking about. And you've taken advantage of a trend, a growing trend, really, in food production, and that is finding space. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own space all the time.
Right. We actually work out of 2 different commercial kitchens. We use one out in Long Island, Farmingdale, Taste of Long Island, and we work in their kitchen, and they have a storefront where they actually sell our products as well. And our home base, our main kitchen, is up in Mamaroneck in Westchester, and that's where we spend a lot of our time, hours and hours just making stock and soups and figuring out what the next step is, because it's always been a matter of having to adapt to whatever's happening, and what we thought was the next step, there might actually be a step in between to get to that step. So, with just 2 guys, it's been like you said, an uphill battle, but, we've always tried to push forward and tried to get it going.
Still just 2 guys? Or are there plans for more guys or girls?
We have some part-time employees now.
About part-times, yeah.
No, if you imagine any business, if you're the creator of the product and you're the marketer of the product and you have to sell the product and you have multiple venues that you have to stock that product.
Yeah.
You might run out of 24 hours.
Well, we've changed to 36. I have a little new button.
You're so lucky.
Pauses time. I know.
We have more time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the hardest part is because we're very meticulous with our product and how we conduct our business. It's hard to let go of that. That we always have to be hands-on. We always have to have, our hands doing something, whether it's our own web design, which we do, photography, or just selling, marketing, because nobody can really educate people on your vision than you can. You're the person who's going to put the best information out there and just...
And you're going to care about it more.
Exactly. So it takes a long time to try to find people that are on that level, or that you can even bring to that level. That can perform as well as you do.
And be as passionate about what you're doing.
All right, and I each get to have a sentence to describe what your company does. Right, because this is, and then we're going to talk about recipes, and we're also going to take questions in case you're thinking, yes, it finally turned frigid. I mean, it is winter after all for the northern reaches of the continent, actually kind of through the middle, north and way north.
Oh, it's cold.
It's cold. Let's just say it's cold. It's a great time to have a conversation about stocks and about soups. The stock comes first. It's not like a chicken and egg thing. The stock actually does come first, or you're going to find yourself really hard pressed to make the soup. You get to say first what the company does, and then we're going to answer questions about making soups and stocks and go through kind of some of the offerings that you've dreamed up along the way. It's 866-675-6675. Matt O'Leary and Will Frischheisen are here. They're co-founders of the New York Stock Company. It's about food, not stock.
It's always about food, Betsy.
It's always about, well, that would be true too. You obviously grew up in the right house. All right, who wants to go first? This is your time. It's you're stuck in the elevator with an investor.
All right, the New York Stock Company. We focus on making just all salt-free cooking stocks, salt-free soups, and the importance of the salt-free is not just the health benefits, but we came to it from a culinary standpoint in which the stocks are never seasoned. You never put salt in the stocks because you don't know what you're going to use it for yet. So that's how that came about. We started doing the frozen. So we have frozen soups, frozen stocks, and it's an ever expanding line, and we want to reach as many people as possible.
All right, Matt, you get to add on because you still have a good 20 more seconds.
Okay. Well, if I'm doing an elevator speech from an investor, first I'll be saying we just came from the Martha Stewart show. I'm a little tired. But no, we basically, I mean, what we do is we present a healthier alternative to what's available on the market. A lot of people are so used to products that are just saturated with sodium. You look at a lot of the shelf-stable broths and stocks out there that's up to 40% sodium. You look at bouillon, it's the same thing. I mean, that's, literally half a container of salt, and that's a little ridiculous because it's, there's other ways to preserve it. So, I mean, what we've done is just provide, just using a different method that might not be too known, but at the same time, people do. I mean, people have been using frozen foods for a long time. And I mean, this is just another way to get it out, but become a lot healthier and just a lot better of a product. I mean, you can taste the flavors now. It's not just, you taste a spoonful of salt and maybe a carrot and a piece of chicken involved with it.
Do you find there's an education for your customers
Absolutely.
when they first taste your soups? Because they are going to taste different. I'm not talking about the stocks. We're going to use those as ingredients. But when you move on to something as simple as a chicken noodle soup, they taste it, and it is not going to taste like what they've had before because the salt's been removed. I know I grew up in a chicken soup salt-free environment, and people are always asking for the salt when they sit down at the table.
Normally, a lot of what people say is it tastes like my grandmother's. It tastes like my grandma's chicken soup or my grandma's mushroom soup, or I mean, wherever they're coming from. And I mean, that's big to us because, we're big, we're very family oriented. So I mean, that's a huge pat on our back when somebody says, you cook as great as my grandmother. Well, thank you. And she's like, did your mom actually cook this? No, we didn't. But I mean, nobody really has brought any kind of negative connotation. It's been more just positivity throughout because feedback. People really do get the flavors and they find it more pure and they can just tell that it's fresh ingredients.
Then what would be the key? Because we want to replicate the flavors of a great chicken stock before we even get to the soup. What would be the key to making the stock?
Simmer, skim, don't let it get fat and gross. You got to skim it all the time with all the stocks, but chicken stock, don't let it boil, just let it simmer, skim, give it time. It's a time-consuming process. There's no quick way to do it. You have to put the time in and just let it go, and it's not like a super hands-on thing. You just got to let it go and skim it, watch it, care for it like a baby, and when it's done, and you'll know it's done.
Are we using bones? Are we using whole chickens?
Bones. Otherwise, it'd be a broth. Broth is more meat-based. A lot of people get confused about that. A broth normally has bones and meat. We use strictly bones.
And vegetables.
And
you
vegetables
have to use vegetables.
and herbs
if you're relying on the flavors, then your stock has to be pretty vegetable thick.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you cook what? Carrots, onions?
Carrots, onions, celery. We use mushrooms. The garden vegetable stock has, mushrooms, carrots, onions, celery,
Bell peppers,
fennel, a lot of herbs.
basil.
Now, a vegetable stock is significantly less time invested than a chicken stock.
Sure.
There's just a lot of vegetables that we use. We really we balance out all the different stocks with like the garden vegetable. It's going to be very robust because we're using fresh tomatoes. And we're using like 15 different vegetables. It's like eating a garden. Same thing with the wild mushroom and fennel. We use shiitake mushrooms and portobello and cremini and button, roasted with a little bit of fennel just to kind of balance out the earthiness with a little bit of sweetness. But the same thing with the chicken stock. We put a lot of chicken flavor. Same thing with beef and anything else that we do. We have seasonal stocks that we do as well. Lobster with sweet corn and sage. We do a roasted herb turkey, and it's the same idea, just reinforcing so that it's just the best product that you can get out there.
It's interesting about stock, since you brought up turkey. We do see turkey stock seasonally on a store shelf,
Right.
for example. mostly the chicken stock is better than all of the other stocks that are shelf stable.
Well, chicken's the most versatile stock. Chicken you can use for anything. Not just chicken soup. You can make well, stocks in general you can use for things besides soup.
I know, I'm making risotto later.
There you go. Chicken stock would be great. Vegetable stock you can
Wild
make
mushroom stock.
a wild mushroom, which we brought for you today.
A wild mushroom
And
stock or wild mushroom?
Wild mushroom fennel stock.
Okay, so if I wanted to do that, I mean, I'm going to totally poach yours, but if I wanted to do that at home, is it a matter of rehydrating mushrooms?
No, we get fresh.
You get fresh
Everything
wild
we get
mushrooms.
is fresh.
Yeah, we get everything fresh, and then we roast it to really develop the flavors.
And then you make the stock.
And then we make the stock.
And that will get a little extra something.
Oh, absolutely. If you have if you just think about it, like a mushroom, and you boil a mushroom, it's not going to have nearly as much flavor as if you pan-seared a mushroom. I'm thinking of a portobello in my head. If you're going to pan-sear a portobello and you're going to develop nice browning on it and beautiful color on it, it's going to taste way better than just a boiled mushroom, which is, if you think about what you're doing with stock, you're just adding water to it and simmering it. So the flavor becomes way more complex when you stick it in the oven for a little bit and let it pick up some color and develop a little more character.
So on that same note, then, if you were going to make a great beef stock, without which you can't have that French onion soup, which you might want because your cold weather is setting in. We're roasting the bones first.
Oh, yeah.
Do we roast them high heat? We roast them medium heat.
Normally high.
Yeah, it depends on the
quick
bones.
roast, because then you're gonna let those bones sit in liquid for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Normally, beef stock takes us about 10 hours, or veal stock.
I know it. I actually once set out to make the French onion soup, and I started the day before.
Yeah. I mean,
but it didn't take a lot of my time. It was just
you let
to
it
be
sit.
around.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. It's just kind of on the back burner all day. Veal takes us literally 20 hours. And that can sometimes. We used to do it in one day. Now it's a 2-day process.
And is that mostly the simmer, or as opposed to the roasting of the bones?
The
simmer, and then we do a slight reduction on it.
So I would think for you sourcing bones would be an issue, only because you need so many.
It's surprising because we live in New York. I mean, this is just a saturated city of restaurants, and everybody's moving towards local and better ingredients. So obviously, there's more great products being developed, and what we're doing is we're just finishing off those products. I mean, it just kind of helps with the whole idea behind sustainability and just.
So you might know a great chef. He roasts chicken. He serves that in the evening. You go home. You go afterwards, and you collect the bones.
Exactly.
Only because that's what we can do at home.
But not from a restaurant.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
From another food producer.
Sure, we have a
someone who makes chicken pot pie. That way that they're not using the bones.
Right, because that will be like 4 or 5 bones if they're doing it at home. But we have our purveyors that get reputable. Our reputable purveyors from local, Northeast Pennsylvania, New York, and so we get good quality stuff. And like you said, it wasn't nearly as difficult as we thought it was going to be to find these things, because there's just a plethora of different purveyors and just food people who can get you in touch with the people you need to talk to in order to get whatever ingredient you need, whatever it is, really.
Do you each have different favorite soups? Now, this being the middle of winter, it's probably going to be something seasonal, since that's your specialty.
I mean, it's hard.
I like all soups.
I like any soup. French onion. We have a Guinness and cheddar coming out. Split pea and ham is going to be a new one.
Guinness and cheddar, go back.
Guinness and cheddar is actually going to be our French onion soup. So it's basically a French onion base using beef stock, but instead of reducing port into the onions at the end of an hour-long caramelization, you throw some Guinness and Irish cheddar sauce in there and let it go to work.
And you found a way to freeze that, and then when it defrosts nicely, like a consistent soup.
Same thing with split pea and smoked ham, because it's a puree. So normally.
You are my mother. That's how she got us to eat split peas when I was a kid.
Throw ham in there.
She would doctor it up with some great flavor, and she would puree the things that she thought we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart.
But you're already doing that.
Yeah.
How about beans? Are we working on bean soups?
Yes, we have a bean soup.
I'm asking because my goal is to make a great bacon bean soup, so now I need some advice.
Oh, bacon. Oh, man.
That kind of goes along the idea of our Portuguese kale. You can use black beans with chicken stock and some thick cut bacon, a little bit of herbs in there, some carrots, celery, onions. You wouldn't even have to puree it. You can just kind of let it sit and thicken up because of the beans themselves.
Once the beans start to break down, they'll just keep doing it the longer you cook it.
Thickens it up a little bit like a puree, yeah.
Well, I have kids,
delicious.
so I might have to go the extra mile.
Oh, but they love beans.
They actually, you know what, my kids do like beans, but in only their own way. That's why I have to make the bacon bean soup. It's been requested.
Really?
I figured since y'all were stopping by, it would be a good chance to get some
Where
advice.
where is it?
Let's do it. We'll go over. We'll
I'm
cook
working on. I'm actually working on the type of bean too. He does love black beans.
Mm-hmm.
I recently got pinto beans, and I think that might be the soup that he's looking for.
Great Northerns are also really good.
Great Northerns they were in our dinner last night.
Okay.
As it turned out.
Cannellinis.
Cannellini's great.
I like those too. You clearly know what you're doing, and I'm so glad you brought a few of your offerings. The white miso in particular is intriguing for me.
Yes.
That one's actually very good. It's a wild mushroom and fennel broth that we use bunashimeji mushrooms, white miso, some roasted seaweed, scallions, and a nice firm tofu. And I mean, the balance of flavors. And a lot of times you'll see a dashi used in that soup, but with the mushroom broth, the mushroom stock, you actually get, because of the shiitakes, the kind of same umami effect. And it just really balances out the flavors really nicely.
You've whet our appetite to make do and also to look your company up. For that, we're going to need a website. So how can we get in touch with you online?
NewYorkStockCompany.com. That's our site.
All spelled out.
Information. Yep. Completely spelled out, New York Stock Company. And then for any information, you can always just email us at info@NewYorkStockCompany. Again, all spelled out, NewYorkStockCompany.com.
Don't be surprised if we do.
Go to our Facebook page. We always throw up new information up.
Excellent, and we will. And I'm so glad you both stopped by, Matt and Will, because it's an intriguing way to get your dinner started, whether you get the stock shelf stable or you get the soup and you don't have to do anything.
That's right.
And it's that time of year. It's also the time of year where we look at the fashions that are taking place in the United States Capitol, which we did for the past 48 hours of processionals and parades and swearing in. So we're going to get a review of what the First Lady wore. Coming up on Living at Home is 21 after the top of the hour. Martha Stewart Living Radio, Sirius XM 110.
It's a Prairie Home Companion.
A Prairie Home Companion is a radio variety show on Sirius XM that travels around the country.
New Mexico, Fairfax County, Virginia, Essex Junction, Vermont.
Featuring local musicians and skits like Guy Noir,
Private Eye.
The Lives of Cowboys, and the news from Lake Wobegon.
It's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon.
Hosted by Garrison Keeler, A Prairie Home Companion is where songs, laughs, and good feelings come together to make 2 fine hours of radio theater. Sundays at noon East, 9 a.m. West on NPR Now, Sirius XM, Channel 122.
NFL fans, stay connected with SiriusXM NFL Radio by following us on Twitter. Sign up at twitter.com/SiriusXMNFL. Follow us now and find out about upcoming guests from your favorite teams. Know when NFL players, head coaches, and front office execs are on. And stay updated with the hot topics of the day. You'll also get tweets about your favorite hosts breaking down the NFL.
I love it.
Follow us at twitter.com/SiriusXMNFL. SiriusXM NFL Radio, Channel 88. All NFL, all the time.
The first time we met, he came in and the first thing he said,